Shogun has been concluded for a couple of weeks now, but that hasn't stopped all the speculation about if there's going to be a second season of the show. Initially, Shogun was built as being a one-and-done type of show, a limited series that was based on James Clavell's book, which was 50 years old. However, there was a recent piece of news that confirmed that a second season of Shogun was on the way. It's a bold move for the network and the show to make, and it's one which has garnered a mixed response. So, I thought I'd take a look at all that's out there, share my thoughts and opinions on the news, and also give my theories and predictions on what I think will happen next. So let's get into it. Here is Shogun Season 2. Everything we know, theories, and my thoughts. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Everything we know. So at the end of last week, it was announced that the actor who played Yoshi Toranaga in Season 1 of the show, Hiroyuki Sada, had signed a contract that had him returning to Season 2 of Shogun. This was obviously a massive surprise because from the moment that the show first arrived on our screens, we were under the impression that it was always going to be one season. The story is based off of James Clavell's novel from 1975, and it concluded where the novel did. So the fact that they've signed on Sada shows that it's looking like they're going to be coming back to the world of Shogun and drifting away from the novel and forging their own pathway of a story, maybe looking more towards the real historical events. When it comes to the reason as to why there's going to be a Season 2, well, Shogun was simply a huge hit for the streaming platform. It became the platform's most viewed series premiere ever, and it continued to have incredible success throughout the 10-episode run. Even off of the platform, it was arguably the most talked about show from the winter into the spring. So in a bittersweet kind of way, the fact that the show was a huge success is something that means that it's going to go against what it initially set out, and the dollar signs are going to reign supreme because the platform just simply won't want to turn down the opportunity to make even more money. As long as it doesn't decrease the quality of the story or the show, then I don't think it's that much of an issue. But Season 1 was just so good, and it's genuinely up there as being one of the best miniseries of all time. But when it enters the ocean of a non-miniseries, it's going to be put up against some fierce contenders and have its competition cut out for itself even more. The first season of Shogun was apparently 6 years in the making, but I don't think they'd take a fraction of that time when it comes to getting Season 2 out the door. It was also FX's most expensive show that they've ever made. So they clearly backed the show and thought that it would be a huge success. Right now, all that is known about Season 2 of the show is that Sada will be reprising his role as Yoshi Toranaga. It's said that the team behind the scenes are working on other details of the show, which most probably means the other cast members that will be returning and also what the story is going to actually be about. But with it being fresh news that Season 2 is going to be on the cards, it's going to take time for more details to come to fruition and get revealed. What could happen in Season 2? So with the story in the book actually concluding, that means that there's actually no direct inspiration from Clavell or his work on where the story for Season 2 of the show could go. This means one of two things. The first is that the writers are going to have to look at the actual time period and the history that occurred, which these characters were based on. This could consist of everything that Yasu Tokugawa got up to after the Battle of Seigahara, and there are some interesting things that happened even with the characters that are in the show. For example, we could see Toranaga betray Lady Oyen Noada and her son, the very thing that she cares about most, and look to eliminate them as a threat. This is because following him becoming Shogun, the support for him could end up being divided, as others may think that Yayo should be the Tao because he was the rightful heir due to his birthright, hence why Toranaga would turn on them. So that would be something that would be interesting to see and is historically accurate. Or the other option that the writers could look to go down would be that of creating a story and a narrative that was just completely fictional and not leaning into the actual history at all. This would be so that there would almost be no accountability. James Clavell obviously took creative liberties with his novel as it is fictional, but based on the era of feudal Japan. So the show does have a few different options that it could look to go down. Within the real history as well, William Adams, the person that John Blackthorne was based on, he did have a large involvement moving forward. He settled down, married a woman, and had children. Plus, he also sent funds back home to his family in England. So we could see a sense of conflict within him and this desire to leave. However, within reality, he started to associate more with the Japanese people when compared to the English people when they later arrived there. So we could almost see him in an identity crisis and him starting to change. As well as that, Tokugawa actually stepped down as shogun after not too long of a reign. This was so that his son could become the heir, and it made it easier to keep it all within the family line. However, even after doing that, he continued to rule, but just on the sidelines, showing again that stepping down was a tactical move. So there are many other moments from this time period with these specific characters that could be explored, but it just has to feel right and natural and almost warrant a story. So I definitely think creative liberties will most likely be taken in some areas, and it could be the loosest it's been when it's come to being connected to the real history. My thoughts on there being a season 2. Honestly, I have a real feeling about the second season of Shogun being commissioned. I loved the first season, and it was so good, but at the same time, there's a massive part of me that thinks because it was originally pitched as a limited series that was going to have one season, it should just stay as that. The whole first season of the show was based on the novel, which had huge success, and I fear that because they're going to have to drift from the story in the book, because it concluded, it could all fall apart. Look at what happened with Game of Thrones. The moment that they went beyond the book, there was a clear dipping quality, and I don't want that to happen with this show because it was refreshing and having something which was just so good. When looking at one of the creators of the TV series, Justin Marks, he hasn't created that much, but a lot of what he has created has come from existing IP or has been based off of all the stories. For example, he was a writer on the 2016 film The Jungle Book, which is obviously an existing story. He was a writer of the story for Top Gun, Maverick, which had a pre-existing story to be able to build upon. He was a writer in Street Fighter, which again has stories and characters to it, and obviously Shogun, which was based on a successful novel. So the fact that a lot of his experience comes from having work that was already pre-existing to base it on, or even reimagine it, does make me wonder what it would be like him going rogue and creating an entirely new story himself. It's clear to see that money is probably taking priority over creative integrity, which I think is a shame. It's not very often that you get shows that just have one season and then that's it, like your Chobi or Band of Brothers, and those thrive in just having one feature. It's better to have the thought of wanting more in your mind rather than always getting it, and we now live in a world where if anything is remotely successful in terms of a show or movie, the platform and the exec just don't want to let it go, and ultimately the result is a watered-down version of a show that exists for a period of time that it was never designed to. That's an extreme scenario, but I just don't want it to happen with Shogun. If the story is there, then I'm 100% down for it. It's easily one of the best things that I've seen on TV this year. So the prospect of re-entering feudal Japan and following Toranaga on his quest to become shogun, or even whilst he is the shogun, is something that I'm excited about. But that still leaves the doubts that sit there in my mind over whether it's the right decision or not. So there you have it, Shogun Season 2. Everything we know, theories, and my thoughts. If you want to see more videos on Shogun, then click on the card in the top corner. There's an entire playlist breaking down every episode, or alternatively, you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. Are you happy about there being a second season of Shogun? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thanks for tuning into the video, and I'll see you in the next one.